Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah wahda wa salatu wa salam ala man la nabiy ba'da bi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wa hlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. So inshallah today we go over juz number 13. In juz number 13 starts verse number 50 is for Yusuf 50 to 52. Or sorry, the juz begins with verse number 53. And the end of the juz number 12, which is from verse 50 to 52, the wife of the Aziz Misr, she basically she admitted that she's the one who seduced him and he did not want to leave the prison until, but even though she admitted it, he didn't want to leave until he was exonerated. And verse number 53, which is the beginning of the surah, or beginning of the juz, sorry. وَمَا أُبَرِّئُ نَفْسِي إِنَّ النَّفْسَ لَأَمَّارَةٌ بِسُوءٍ إِلَّا مَا رَحِمَ رَبِّي. In it, this kind of conveys that same, reiterates that same message, that he himself did not want to leave until they exonerated him by the law. Because if he just had left because of the favor of the king or whatever it was, the king was willing to take him out. He didn't mind. He didn't care about it, whatever, but he didn't want to leave until his name was exonerated. This is very important because anything happens in the future, at least his name was exonerated officially and no one could do anything about that. Then verse number around 58, all the way from there until 58. Basically, he is freed. He is made the treasurer and minister of agriculture, and he helps them prepare the 7 good years. Essentially, the interpretation of the dream was the 7 fat cows were the 7 good years that were to come, and then the 7 skinny cows that were being eaten were the famine years. So he knew that the good years, productive years, they needed to save as much as they could, so that when the famine years come, they can still survive without any difficulty. And that's what happened. They with the agriculture, they preserved it, they saved it, and they were able to use it when the famine finally came, which leads us to verse 158, the saga of the brothers. Now the famine is widespread, and his brothers are also feeling it where they are, so they come to Egypt to come. And I'm not sure at this time whether they're part of the empire or not, but they go there to get some sort of rations. So they go there, and Yusuf immediately recognizes them, and he recognizes his younger brother Binyamin, who they both share the same mother and father. And he has him stay. He identifies himself and has him stay. But the brothers are then sent away without Binyamin not being told why, and they didn't recognize Yusuf alayhi salam. So they go back, tell Yaqub alayhi salam, and then Yaqub alayhi salam cries so much that he becomes blind. And eventually, the family is reunited. They come back, and the entire family comes, and they're reunited again. Now, the surah uses the father and son duo to teach us a lesson about tawakkul. What is true tawakkul ala Allah? What is true reliance upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And what patience looks like. A lot of times when people think about patience, they think patience is something that you just, for a couple of hours, okay, I'm just going to be patient maybe for a couple of days, maybe a few weeks. But you tell people to be patient for months and years, that's something that it's unimaginable. And really, that's what patience is. Tawakkul ala Allah requires patience, and patience is a long game. It's not something that's short. It takes a while for it to come into fruition. So these are the most important attributes. If you want to live in this world, you want to live a good life in this world, and if you want to live at least a stress-free life, you need to be patient. Patience, perseverance, and tawakkul ala Allah. These are the most important attributes to live our life in this world. Then move on to Surah Ra'd. Surah Ra'd, this surah teaches us the importance of contemplation and observation of the world around us. Observe, look around you, observe, think about it, what it is, in terms of its scientific, information, and also think about how it came from a spiritual perspective. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created everything. Allahu alladhi rafa'a as-samawati bighayri 'amadin tarawnaha. It is Allah who created the heavens without any pillars that you can see, and yet He has established Himself up there, and He has established this for us. Then verse number 2, look at the atmosphere. It's a perfectly set in place without any pillars. You have the gravitational field. You have, you go up and you have the different fields, magnetosphere, and so on and so forth. And all they're there to protect us from, from the from space. And you go into verse number 3, then Allah's telling us, وَهُوَ الَّذِي مَدَّ الْأَرْضَ وَجَعَلَ فِيهَا رَوَاسِيَ وَأَنْهَارًا. Look at the stability of the earth. It's so stable. We walk on it all the time. Very rarely does something happen. And not only that, we have life sprouting from it, right? We have vegetation, fruits, vegetables, all the things that we consume, many of the things that we like. If you like rice and bread, these are things that come from the earth, grains from the earth. Then verse number 16, it shows Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows and sees everything. And Allah is in complete control. Whenever you get what you need, it is, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who gives it to you and no one else. Then Allah asks us to ponder upon the treasures of the earth. After pondering upon the treasures of the earth, Allah is telling us, when you go through hardship and you go through difficulty, right? The only way to get through any hardship or difficulty in your life, the only way is الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَتَطْمَئِنُّ قُلُوبُهُمْ بِذِكْرِ اللَّهِ أَلَا بِذِكْرِ اللَّهِ تَطْمَئِنُّ الْقُلُوبُ. Unquestionably, by the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the hearts are reassured, or they're assured. Then verse number 30 to around 31, everything we learn about through science and knowledge that has passed down to us, this is all Allah is doing. Allah is the one who is passing this information down. Well, we're discovering it, but through the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And everything that we have, all the information, knowledge we have, is all from Allah. And the surah ends with a message. People will always disbelieve. And no matter what they do or say, Allah and His Prophet ﷺ are enough as a witness to the truth of this message. Don't worry about what those people do and what they say. Allah and Rasul ﷺ are enough for you. And the surah ends on this note. Then move on to Surah Ibrahim. Surah Ibrahim, the primary message of the surah is about those who are in desperate and dire situations. When you are in a troubled and dire situation, this is the surah to be reading. And this account and the story of Ibrahim alayhi salam, this is what you want to be reading as well. So, verse number 18. Some will use this as an opportunity to get close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, while others will step back. We all have a choice. We will see the results of our choices in the hereafter, in terms of our deed. But, that's something that we have to be very cautious about. Whole nations were destroyed because of their insolence against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we're being warned against that. Then verse number 37 to around 39, Allah, what's it called? This is not talking about Ibrahim alayhi salam. He knew who to trust. He fought off shaitan, and he was extremely thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for his bounties. He was extremely grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for his bounties, and he would always he would try to enumerate and thank Allah for everything. And this was the reason for his salvation. إِنَّهُ كَانَ عَبْدًا شَكُورًا. He was grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then verse number 40 to around 44, those who did not accept, they will be sent back. They will ask to be sent back. And they will tell Allah, they'll try to bargain with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Ya Allah, send us back and we'll do better than what we were doing before, and we will change our ways, but of course it'll be way too late by then. Then verse number 52, هذا بلاغ للناس, and this is how the surah ends. هذا بلاغ للناس, the juz ends, هذا بلاغ للناس ولينذروا به وَلِيَعْلَمُوا أَنَّمَا هُوَ إِلَهٌ وَاحِدٌ وَلِيَذَّكَّرَ أُولُو الْأَلْبَابِ. This Quran is a notification for the people that they may be warned thereby, and that they may know that He is but one God, and those of understanding will be reminded. And the juz ends with this, and inshallah tomorrow we will start juz number 14. Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi